good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Dosberg, and as always, look at me. I'm smiling. I can't stop smiling. I'm super excited to be here. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in Atlanta, Georgia on a Sunday afternoon. And I'm happy because I got somebody in the studio with me again. I'm so happy. Today's show is powered by Kai Alsay Eyewear. Yes, we're going to talk more about that towards the end of the show. Also powered today's show is for the Reclamation Project. I am one of the sponsors, and we're going to talk more about that at the end of the show as well. But I just wanted to give those a quick shout out. Thanks to all the new listeners that are checking us out. Give you a little background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. We're all about creatively collaborating to connect and raise awareness regarding issues that impact women. And we do it by way of community service, public speaking, mentoring, and workshops, and we do it by the arts, this platform right here. And so we've been doing this for a couple of seasons. I've been honored to have some really legendary people come through, and today is no different. I'm so excited. Today's topic is all about all eyes on Ash. My guest today is Ash Lauryn. Hi, Ashleigh.
Hey, Michelle. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, because you are a very, very busy individual. And so I'm so thankful that the stars aligned and our schedules worked out, that you were able to come this afternoon. But I want to kind of jump right into it because you have a lot of material I want to cover, as an artist. Born and raised in Detroit, is that the case? Tell me what's good.
Yes.
What up, though?
What up, though? So I was born in Detroit, and I actually grew up in a suburb of Detroit called Rochester Hills. Okay. So born in Detroit, grew up in Metro Detroit, kind of like maybe Gwinnett County to Atlanta.
So like a north thing of
exactly.
Detroit.
So it's about 30 minutes north of Detroit.
Okay.
Yes.
So how was it growing up in that area as a kid? How was it?
Well, I mean, it was great. My parents are both born and raised from the city, from Detroit, and I was born in the mid-'80s. And around that time, Detroit's got a little edge. Yeah. So, my parents worked hard to, move us outside of the city, and, I got a great education. I had a beautiful childhood. It was also important to my parents to keep us, rooted to the city, right. Being that, we were born there and that's where they're from. So we definitely, went to church every Sunday in Detroit. My grandparents still lived in the city. Yeah. So it was cool. It was cool to kind of get the education and all like the luxury of, growing up in the suburbs. But I also appreciate how my parents wanted to make it a point to have us like still, be rooted in, as Detroit people.
Yeah. We're proud to be from Detroit too, and we'll talk more about that. I want to talk a little bit about your musical influences as a child. What kind of music did you listen to, Ash, growing up?
I listened to a lot of different music growing up. I mean, I'd say I got into electronic music probably around 8th grade. Okay. Prior to that, I was listening to like the Spice Girls. I loved Brandy, Christina Aguilera. I was really like obsessed with a rock group called Bush for a while. Yeah. So I was kind of into a lot of different sounds early on. I was really into Erykah Badu. But I'll say around 8th grade is when I really started to learn about electronic music. And I was learning about that through my older sister, Anne Marie. So she was the one that had kind of exposed me, to the more left field, like underground, like dance music sounds. And once I got exposed to that, like it really, really, took an interest to me. Yeah.
Was it difficult to find that type of underground sound, being that Detroit was the Motor City with the Motown sound? And, people think of Detroit, at least most African Americans or black people, we think of Detroit as, Aretha, the Stevies, Barry Gordy, just that whole soul evolution. Did you find it was difficult to find that sound that your sister shared with you?
Techno started in Detroit, but still, even to this day, that's not common knowledge in Detroit the way you would think it would be, especially with the black community, like you said. So it definitely was an underground culture. I will say, once I started, finding more, about dance music through my sister, I did realize that there was some electronic music that I had been exposed to on the radio on WJLB, but I didn't know specifically who Underground Resistance was, who Model 500 was, but I was hearing that music literally since I was eighth grade, whenever, probably even before that, and I, don't remember, but it definitely was interesting when it all started to kind of make sense, the music she was listening to and the parties she was going to, that was all of kind of some of those sounds I had been hearing on the radio, and I just, wanted to find out more. It definitely wasn't as accessible as it is now, because we have the internet and there's YouTube and there's so many different tools. But I'd say the way I started really digging for electronic music was actually going to physical music stores at that time, like Harmony House, Record Time, were some record stores I was going to back then in Detroit.
Were you sneaking into parties with Big Sis too?
Yes, I was definitely sneaking into parties. And, obviously these were raves, so I don't think they were really carding for raves. But I was, in eighth grade, so you knew I was a kid. But I used to go away to the city. My sister was going to Wayne State, which is in Midtown Detroit, and my mom would let me go visit Big Sis, visiting Big Sis in her dorm. And, because my sister was 19, and she was still young herself. I was tagging along. She definitely took me to some raves. And then once I got a little older, once I was in my 18, 19, that's around the time where I started venturing off to some events on my own.
Right. So because we love Detroit, I know you love it. That's your home, your family's from there. You've had some great growing up cultural experiences there. How did we get to Atlanta?
That's a great question. I got to Atlanta because, my freshman year of college, graduated high school in 2003. Sounds like a long time ago. I'm about to stop saying the numbers in a few years. Graduated high school. Went away to college for a year at Morgan State University in Baltimore. So I went to a black college for a year, and which was a great experience. And I got to even kind of check out some of their Baltimore club music scene when I was there, which was cool. But basically, I went there for a year. It was really, really expensive with the out-of-state tuition and everything on my parents. So we had decided for my sophomore year, I was going to move back home and go to school at Wayne State in Detroit.
Like Sis.
Yes, like Sis. But when I was at Morgan, my freshman year, my roommate was from Atlanta. And me and her became really, really close. So did the freshman year. I went back to Detroit. She actually ended up going back to Atlanta, probably for I think it was the same reason. Just out-of-state tuition was really expensive. So me and her kept in contact, and I was like, man, I want to come to Atlanta to visit you. So I think by the time I finally made it down here to visit her, it was right around my 21st birthday. Or it was my 21st birthday.
The turn-up began.
Yep, so I turned 21. I think I went to Miami first, and then I went to Atlanta. Because at the time there was this airline called AirTran. AirTran, and they had a rate called X Fares. X Fares was if you were 18 to 22 years old, you could fly standby to anywhere that they went for 50 or 60 bucks. So I think I flew standby to Miami, did that, and then I was I think I'm going to go to Atlanta next. So got to Atlanta, and me and her hung out. Her mom was living in Snellville, so she was living out in Snellville with her mom. We were driving literally from Snellville, going all the way downtown Atlanta, hanging out, and I just was wow. I was just so hooked. I was all the nice cars had black people driving them, it was just a certain type of prestige to the black culture here, and I really, really liked that. And, this was still, 2007, 2008. So there wasn't really a lot going on in Detroit at that time. And, I was 21.
So
you
was ready.
I literally just saved up a little bit of money, and I moved down here the summer of 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you start school, continue your education?
No, I forgot to add that part. I dropped out. I ended up dropping out of school, so, which ended up, when I look back on it now, it was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I dropped out of school, came to Atlanta, honestly, with no, like, super in-set plan. I was just like, I'm 21, like, rent was so cheap.
Yes, it
You know,
was.
like, I had a cousin that was going to Clark at the time.
Yeah.
So me, my cousin, and then my homegirl who I used to be roommates with, we all got an apartment off Collier Road.
Yes.
$900 a month. So it was 300. My rent was $300. So I was like, I'll be able to come up with 300.
Yeah.
So.
And Collier's a good location too.
Yeah. I mean, like it was still like a proper Atlanta address.
It sure was.
So yeah, so that's how I got here.
That happened. That's what happened to all of us, Ashleigh. I mean, realistically, we live with our parents and we go away to college and we meet friends.
Yeah.
And we have this relationship with people, and for whatever reasons, their road leads to Atlanta. And that's the first thing we say. When I get it together, I'm coming to visit you.
Exactly.
That's what happened to me. I visited a friend of mine that I went to college with, and she was down here living with her brother. And I didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I had a good time. It was something about the air, the way people were moving. I was like, what is this Black Mecca? This is crazy.
Exactly.
This is ridiculous. Like, everybody's like saying hi. I was like, they're talking to me.
Right?
I was touching my back.
The sun is out every day.
The sun is out every day. I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, I don't know if I want to go back to New York.
Yeah.
And I went back and I worked for like 6 months or so, and I met her brother, and he was like, I want you to come be with me. And I was like, okay.
Ooh, so it really,
you know what I'm saying? And I moved down, and I've been here ever since.
That's beautiful.
Atlanta's been good to a lot of us, and it creates a lot of opportunities, and you meet a lot of great people. So now that you're here and you're roommating, you're off Collier Road, what was the scene like for you guys? Like, were you all doing like dance music, electronica? What's happening?
So this is another interesting part of my story.
I love it.
So I was into like electronic music in high school and through my sister, and then I'd mentioned I had found out a little bit about the Baltimore club music sound when I was in Baltimore. Moved to Atlanta, could not find the house music scene at all.
Say that again.
I could not find the scene.
That's how underground it was, right?
Yes, and I will also say, you know, at that time I was kind of transitioning into kind of like because my homegirl wasn't like a house head. She was more on like the Black Hollywood scene.
Okay.
So we were going to like Velvet Room. I went to Visions, Club 112. So I got my experience of that Black Hollywood kind of like hip hop, Atlanta scene.
R&B, whatever,
So I honestly, I used to Google, but even then, like at that time, Google was around, but it wasn't like, there wasn't all these Facebook groups. Like it still wasn't extremely accessible, because I would try. I would be like, man, I just want to hear some house music. So I'd say for like the first 3 or 4 years, didn't have anything. About maybe the first 3 years. And then in 2010, I was out drinking with a friend of mine that's from DC, and he was like, I'm going to invite my my homeboy from Detroit. I was like, okay, cool.
Here we go.
So my friend from DC that I was kicking it with, he was like really into like all types of music and whatnot, and we all started talking about music, and somehow house music came up. And I was like telling my friend's friend, like, I've been in Atlanta like 3-4 years now, like I haven't found any house music events, like I just need something. And he was like, you haven't heard about House in the Park? He's like, you don't know about House in the Park? I'm like, no. So he told me about it. I went home, I like went, they had a proper website. I went to the website, and this was still months before. I don't remember what time of year it was. I'd say maybe it was like March or April.
Okay.
So it was still months away, but my sister was also living here by this time. So I was like, I found the house music in Atlanta. Like, it's called House in the Park. So we literally were like counting down, like Xing off the days off the calendar, like, like Labor Day weekend, like we're going to do this.
Yes.
So I remember like that day we got there. This is when it was still at Perkison Park. We got there maybe at like 11:30 or maybe like right at 12 when the gates open. We walked in, and when I tell you, like, I mean, that one experience just opened. It changed everything. And I had already been to DEMF in Detroit. Right. I had been to that, but I was still kind of young. So although I knew about dance music and I liked it, I still wasn't all the way engulfed in it the way I got from that 2010 experience.
Wow.
So, because I did the hip hop thing too, and I just realized like this really isn't for me, and I just wanted to get back in a space and in a community where I really felt like I could just be myself. And in 2010 at House in the Park, that's when everything kind of came back full circle.
How beautiful for you.
Yeah.
How